So if you've been watching my videos, you may think that Warsaw is the perfect place to live. But no. Warsaw, just like any place in the world, has its flaws. Today we're going to talk about the main reasons why you will hate living in Warsaw. There's a sense of loneliness and lack of community when it comes to living in a big city. I know a lot of people that come from smaller towns miss the feeling that you get being in a smaller city where there's a lot more community. You know your neighbors, you know the people around you. And that's the experience that I got when I was in Krakow. I think it was mainly because of the building that I was living in, because it was a co-living building. I met a lot of really good friends in that building that I still keep in contact with today. But I don't know how I would be able to meet people here if I didn't have my social media following. I talked to people who moved here from smaller cities, and they say it's very hard to make friends here because everyone's kind of minding their own business. This may sound a little arrogant, but I was getting stopped quite often, and I felt like every time someone would stop me on the street, I had to perform and kind of be this like YouTube person. I had to be polite, maybe take a picture here or there. Whereas here in Warsaw, nobody cares because everybody's kind of an influencer. It's actually something that I like here a lot. A lot of people say that Polish people are mean or rude, and I think that applies more to like the older crowd, but the younger generation is generally pretty nice.
I think that's more on the outside thing. That I think it's just a protective layer that we put on the infamous Polish smile.
I find that the people are actually very polite. People will open the doors for you, but everyone just kind of minds their own business. The water here in Warsaw sucks. There's a lot of minerals in it. It's very hard water. You can see it like on your shower. All the stains from the water are quite strong. I had to install a couple of shower filters because when I first arrived here, my skin was struggling. I had dry skin everywhere, dandruff all the time. My forehead, everywhere was breaking out because the water quality was so bad. The people here in Warsaw are a little more transactional and a little more status based, and that's just what happens in a bigger city. In the capital city, you're going to have the best of any given country. You're gonna have a bunch of ambitious people from smaller cities, the rich people, all of them usually come to Warsaw. I remember going out with one of my friends. I try not to tell people that I was a YouTuber, but he told them that I was in YouTube, and then the way that they started treating me was completely different than if they didn't know that. I think clout and status in these social media games are a lot more powerful in big cities. And I think this is not uniquely just in Poland. This is a phenomenon that I've noticed everywhere in the world. There is more of that rat race here. You're more judged on how much you earn, what job title you have. It's just a big city and it's way more expensive than anywhere else. The prices here in Warsaw have gotten pretty high, especially in terms of housing. Everything really shot up after the war. If you let in 2 million Ukrainian refugees into your country and don't build enough housing, obviously this is going to happen. And a lot of the rich Ukrainians have bought properties here in Warsaw as well. For restaurants, everything has gone up almost double in price. So I know a lot of Polish people are struggling because of that. A lot of people are saying that the real estate prices now are inflated, and that might be true, but Warsaw is also a heavily growing city and a lot of people are looking to invest in the city. So I wonder if these prices are really inflated or if they're going to show a continued rise and growth in prices. I know some Polish people who recently bought a house because buying their house and their mortgage was cheaper than the rent payment. So Warsaw right now is just extremely competitive. Another downside to Warsaw is that it's very noisy. I miss being in Krakow, where I was kind of next to nature, a couple of parks. I woke up every morning, it was extremely quiet. But here, in the middle of the night, you're gonna hear the people cleaning the streets, the people picking up the trash, you hear their trucks along the road. But from the early morning, you have the hustle and bustle of everybody. The people loading their żabkas, people in their cars going to work. That's something that I definitely miss from the small city. So as good as the transportation is here in Warsaw, the night transportation is a little tricky. A lot of times the buses don't arrive on time or they don't arrive at all. So if you're pretty far away from your home and you need to find a way to get back home, it can be kind of confusing if you use public transportation. You can use Bolt or Ubers, which are actually kind of getting a little expensive now. But something that I personally like to do is just Bolt scooter everywhere. And all these scooter companies have plans for like 30 minutes, day passes, or I usually just buy the month passes because I use it so often. That's a really convenient way to get around the city. At night, the transportation options can be a little limited, so keep that in mind when you guys are going out. Something I also hate is how difficult it is to find good luggage. If you travel a lot, you know how annoying it is when your luggage breaks, and most luggages, to be honest, are just ugly. That's why I'm excited to talk about my favorite luggage brand, Level 8. Level 8 has tons of amazing options with beautiful designs and colors. I ended up getting the free loop luggage in green. I personally love the old school vintage look. The inside is extremely beautiful and
and high quality. And I love how they have this Velcro strap design instead of a buckle to close your luggage. Another one of my favorites is the Gibraltar aluminum carry-on, which is their top of the line luggage. I have to say that the design is so classy and the high quality material is definitely worth the price. If you're looking for a more practical luggage, they have the Roadrunner. I like that it has a laptop case in front of it. It is made with strong materials, has 360 wheels, and most importantly, wide handles.
All of the products come with a lifetime warranty, so you never have to worry if they break. They also offer free shipping to US, Europe, and Canada. So if you guys want to step up your luggage game, use code whereswes at checkout to get 10% off your order. You can also click this link down below that I will also link in the pinned comment and description. Another thing I noticed is that there's quite a bit of homeless people here in Warsaw. In Krakow, I saw a couple of homeless drunk people around, but I think the police did a pretty good job of controlling it because it's the most tourist-sized city here in Poland, so they didn't want to promote that image. But here in Warsaw, they're not like calm homeless people, like the ones just sitting down. Some of them will go onto public transportation, smelling bad, having all this weird stuff on their face, and just kind of slumped over. And I've seen a few homeless people on the streets like get into fights as well. I saw this guy, he was talking to a woman who also looked homeless. He was yelling at her, and I don't know if he slapped her. There's a lot of weird stuff like that going on here, but that just comes to the big city. A lot of the main places in Warsaw are quite clean, but for some reason, a lot of the back streets and the side areas are actually quite dirty. And this is something that I kind of noticed in Krakow too, especially like after a night out, the streets do get pretty dirty. I wonder if it's because the people are not throwing away their stuff or the trash gets extremely piled up and they just overflow, which is a very common problem I've noticed actually. But also they have these birds. I don't know what the bird is called, but they'll literally go through the trash bin, get McDonald's or whatever junk food is there and take stuff out and then leave all the wrappers everywhere. They're like little food thieves. It was pretty shocking to me because everyone says that it is a clean city, and I guess for the most part it is, but there are definitely pockets where that's not the case. Because it's a heavily growing city, there's also a lot of construction in the city, specifically in places like Wola. I've seen a lot of new builds being built, and that means there's gonna be a lot of construction noise, especially now in the summer because there's a lot of sun and people have more time to work. But not only construction with buildings, there's also a lot of construction in the city when it comes to building new metro stations, building new tram lines, working on the roads, and it seems like this construction is all over the city. And I wonder why they didn't just focus on little pockets and finish those first instead of spreading it out through the whole entire city. In Krakow, there was a lot of construction, but it actually got done really quickly. In under a year, the city has changed significantly. So maybe it's the same here in Warsaw. I wonder if there's also a lot of corruption involved with all these government contracts. A lot of the metro lines are constantly shifting or may not arrive on time, or you look on your map, they just don't show up at all because the construction has pretty much changed the whole entire gridding system of the public transportation. So definitely keep that in mind. Warsaw weather is pretty bipolar, I'm not gonna lie. I think in Poland, Gdańsk has the best weather because it's right next to the water. Summers are not as hot and the winters are not as cold. But this summer has been weird. It definitely took a lot longer to get cold. And in the last couple days, it was raining like we were in Southeast Asia. It was crazy. If you just look at like the weather report, today's gonna be 22 and then tomorrow will be 31 and then it'll go back down to 18. It just goes like up and down constantly. The humidity is a little less here. I guess the way the city is set up with the buildings and everything, it can get really windy. And this is actually why I think a lot of Polish people migrated over to Chicago, because I think Chicago, which is also the windy city, has a very similar climate to here in Poland. But now that it's summer, Warsaw is spectacular. It's one of the best cities in the world. During the winter, it can get very depressing, especially when it's like cloudy and gray like it sometimes does during the winter. This is not the worst traffic that I've seen in the world. I think the worst is definitely when I was in Vietnam. I hear in India it's really bad. In Manila, Philippines, it's really bad. As far as like Polish standards are concerned, I find that the traffic here can get pretty bad. Warsaw seems to have the angriest drivers that I've seen compared to the rest of the country. I wonder if it's because there's a lot of foreigners that drive here that may not know the rules. And Polish people are pretty angry on the road anyways. So that's why I really like the public transportation options here. If you have a car, one, it can be difficult trying to find parking in a lot of places. And two, a lot of times it's honestly just faster just to take public transportation or a Bolt scooter and you can just go and then you have unlimited freedom. Owning a car here can be a little expensive, but that's a topic for a different day. So let's talk about one of the big elephants in the room. This has been an interesting experience for me because I'm learning Polish right now, but I find that I actually use my Polish a lot more in Warsaw than I did when I was in Krakow. And because Krakow is a tourist city, I think when they saw me struggling with Polish, they just assumed that I was a tourist. But here in Warsaw, I think the people are a little more unforgiving if you're a foreigner and you don't speak Polish, which is why I'm very confused because a lot of my friends have lived here 3, 5, 6 years and don't speak a word of Polish and they're totally okay with it. But I can feel that resentment coming from the Polish people when you don't speak their language. Since Polish is, in my opinion, actually the hardest language in the world, the grammar is ridiculously complex, I can understand why a lot of people would be hesitant to come here and try to learn the language. There is a very strong hustle and bustle energy here in Warsaw. It's just the same in any big city. I don't think it's as intense as the US, like LA or New York, where there's more people and it's America, so it's a lot more intense. But I definitely feel myself getting into that flow here. I'm pressured to work harder, always be out there networking, trying to grow, trying to meet people that I can collab with, just always on the go. I feel like since I've came to Warsaw, I haven't really had a lot of time to really catch my breath. It's just been constantly go, go, go. I know if you prefer like a more small city chill vibe, which is something that I would want to raise my family in, this can be very overwhelming. So I can't see myself doing this over the long term because I think it's a very stressful lifestyle. And I noticed that that's why a lot of people here smoke. Vaping is a really bad issue. I think the hustle and bustle energy of the city may contribute to more stress and anxiety. Don't let that discourage you from living in the city though. I still think Warsaw is an amazing city with a lot of beautiful sights, a lot of opportunity, a lot of great people. But you know, on my channel, I always have to give the positive and the negative. Give this video a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I highly recommend you guys watch this video next, and I will see you on the next one.